I mean, the other type that is different in the areas of what you would expect in the area, in Florida, you got a low groundwater table. So when you have contractors coming in to do Florida for the first time that are not used to doing work in Florida, they sometimes have a problem because they know they're going to have to dig out an area for a foundation for a building to put in, and you got to stabilize it and everything else if you want the building to start to sink or settle, when you put it in. And they don't realize that they're going to hit water when they're 2 feet underground. You almost virtually do always in Florida, except when you get out into certain areas of the Panhandle from Tallahassee on that are a little hillier, and then you may not hit water at 2 feet down. Okay. Well, those guys will come in and they'll hit water and they'll want to change water because in order to, you have to control water. What are you going to do with it when it comes in, all this groundwater? Well, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but one way you do it is you well point it. You literally, you're putting in a well that pumps it out, and you pump it up and out into another retaining area, and you dry the area out so you can put your concrete footers in and everything else and set your foundations on it. And then it can't really come into that foundation too much. It can because the concrete's porous, but you're solid. You're on a solid underpinning on it, so you're fine, Okay. Well, if you're an out-of-state contractor who's just moved in and started doing work here, you may encounter that problem. It's going to cost you a lot more money to dewater it. So you wouldn't win that it's a differing site condition, because everybody would expect in the geographical area of Florida where you're near the water and you're in a flat state for the most part, water's about 2 feet down. In some areas, it's only 8 to 10 inches down, But if you are in another situation where I had a client putting in on a Navy base a wastewater treatment system that was going to serve the base and the housing on the base, and they're from here, and so they had put in their price that they were going to well point and go that method and factor that into their pricing to do the job that they got, and they well pointed it and they set it up, and lo and behold, water kept coming in and water kept coming in and water kept coming in, and they couldn't get the pumps going fast enough. It just overwhelmed the entire project, and they made a claim to the Navy, hey, we got to have a change order. There's something going on here, and we got to figure out what's going on. And the Navy said, nothing doing. We're in Florida. You're going to encounter water here. That's why we put well pointing in. And they said, no, we refuse to give it. So we hired a geotechnical engineer, and we did some of our own borings in the area, went out, and because the soils weren't any different than what their borings showed, but we wanted to explore further, find out where's all this water coming from, especially since we're doing this on a Navy base right by the saltwater ocean. And they checked out the salinity of the water coming in, thinking, this must be saltwater, right? It was all fresh water. They said, so where's it coming from? So we got out there and they did the research on it and started doing their explorations, and guess what they found? It was an underground spring. Well, that's a type 2 differing site condition, because no one would have expected to encounter an underground spring that was not part of the actual overall aquifer, okay? And they had to find a way to excavate around this and divert an underground spring in order to stop the water from coming in. That was a huge cost. The Navy finally relented when they got all of that evidence and agreed to pay for it.